Have you ever wondered why some people stop growing even when their lives seem perfectly stable? Why someone with talent, opportunity, and ability slowly settles into a life that never quite reaches its potential? And could it be that one of the quietest obstacles in life is not failure, but comfort? There is a quiet phrase many people repeat to themselves without realizing the weight it carries. Good enough. It sounds harmless, sensible even. But sometimes, good enough becomes a silent trap. This is the story of a man named Lucas Harper. Lucas lived in a quiet town where life moved at a predictable pace. The kind of place where people knew each other's names, where routines rarely changed, and where most dreams slowly adjusted themselves to fit practical expectations. From the outside, Lucas had a respectable life. He worked as a supervisor at a small manufacturing company that had been part of the town for decades. The job paid the bills. It wasn't exciting, but it was stable. His house was modest but comfortable. His neighbors were friendly. His life, by most standards, looked perfectly fine. Whenever people asked how he was doing, Lucas would smile and say the same words, "Things are good." And for a long time, they were. Lucas had once been the kind of young man people described as full of promise. In college, he had studied engineering and spent long nights sketching ideas for machines and inventions. He had notebooks filled with designs, diagrams, and dreams about building something meaningful. Back then, Lucas believed he would create something important. But life, as it often does, gradually shifted his direction. After graduation, he accepted the first stable job he could find. The company offered security, the pay was decent, the work was manageable. And whenever he wondered if he should pursue something bigger, a quiet voice inside his mind would say the same reassuring phrase, "This is good enough." The years moved forward quietly. Lucas became reliable at work. He knew the systems. He solved problems efficiently. His managers trusted him. Eventually, he was promoted to supervisor. His friends congratulated him. "See?" one of them said. "You're doing well." Lucas nodded. It was true. His life worked. But something inside him had slowly gone quiet. The notebooks filled with ideas were placed in a box one afternoon and never opened again. The late-night sketching designs turned into evenings watching television. The dreams he once spoke about began to feel distant, almost unrealistic. Each time a small voice asked whether he should try something bigger, Lucas would gently silence it. "You have a good job," he told himself. "Don't risk it. This is good enough." Years passed like that. Not dramatic years, just quiet ones. Lucas woke up at the same time each morning, drove the same road to work, walked through the same office doors. The routine was comfortable, predictable, safe. But comfort has a strange way of shaping a life. One autumn afternoon, something unexpected happened. The company hired a new engineer named Maya Collins. Maya was younger than Lucas, perhaps in her late 20s, with a calm but curious energy about her. She asked questions constantly. She studied processes. She looked at machines not just as systems to maintain, but as puzzles to improve. At first, Lucas simply helped her understand how things worked. But over the following weeks, Maya began proposing small changes, ideas for improving efficiency, suggestions for redesigning certain components. Some people in the company dismissed her enthusiasm. "We've done it this way for 20 years, one manager said. But Maya didn't seem discouraged. She kept experimenting with small improvements. One evening, Lucas stayed late finishing reports when he noticed Maya in the workshop studying one of the machines. "What are you working on?" he asked. Maya pointed at a component inside the system. "I think this part could be redesigned to reduce energy use," she said. Lucas looked at the machine. For a moment, something stirred in his mind. The problem she was studying. He had noticed it years ago, back when he still carried a notebook full of ideas, back when he still believed he might design something new. "You might be right," Lucas said quietly. Maya smiled. "Have you ever thought about redesigning it?" Lucas hesitated. "Yes," he admitted. "Did you ever try?" she asked. Lucas shook his head. "Why not?" Maya asked. Lucas gave the answer he had repeated to himself for years. "I guess things were already working well enough." Maya nodded thoughtfully. Then she said something that stayed with Lucas long after that evening. "Sometimes good enough is the most dangerous place to stay." Lucas didn't respond immediately, but that sentence lingered in the air. The most dangerous place to stay. Over the following days, Lucas couldn't stop thinking about it. He began noticing how often that phrase had shaped his life. When he chose the safe job, when he stopped pursuing his ideas, when he avoided risks that might have changed his path. Good enough had never sounded negative. It had sounded responsible, practical, mature. But slowly Lucas began to understand something deeper. Failure often forces people to grow. Discomfort pushes people to adapt. But good enough quietly removes urgency. It creates a comfortable middle ground where dreams slowly fade without anyone noticing. One evening after work, Lucas opened an old storage box in his garage. Inside were the notebooks he hadn't touched in years. He flipped through the pages, sketches of mechanical designs, ideas for improving manufacturing systems, notes written by a younger version of himself who believed the future was wide open. Lucas felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, a quiet sense of loss, but also something else, curiosity. The following week, Lucas stayed late at the workshop after everyone else had gone home. He looked again at the component Maya had mentioned. For the first time in years, he began sketching ideas again. At first, the designs were rough, uncertain, but something inside him felt alive again. Over the next few months, Lucas and Maya began quietly working together to test improvements. Some ideas failed, others showed promise. Lucas noticed something surprising. The excitement he had once felt as a young engineer returned slowly, not because of success, but because he was creating again. One afternoon, after reviewing their latest design, Maya looked at Lucas and smiled. "You know something?" she said. "What?" Lucas asked. "You're not someone who should settle for good enough." Lucas laughed softly. "For a long time I thought I was." Maya shook her head. "Most people don't stop growing because they can't. They stop because life becomes comfortable." Lucas knew she was right. Comfort had quietly reshaped his ambitions, but comfort didn't have to define the rest of his life. Months later, their redesign was presented to the company's leadership team. The improvement reduced energy consumption and increased efficiency. It was eventually implemented across the factory. The success surprised many people, but for Lucas, the real change wasn't the recognition. It was something deeper. He realized that the silent trap of good enough had kept him standing still for years, not because he lacked ability, but because comfort had slowly convinced him that trying for more wasn't necessary. And once he recognized that trap, he was finally able to step outside it. Lucas didn't suddenly become famous. He didn't build a billion-dollar company, but his life changed in quieter ways. He started designing again. He explored ideas he had abandoned. He rediscovered the excitement of learning and building, and most importantly, he stopped measuring his life by what was merely comfortable. Because sometimes the greatest danger in life is not failure, it's settling. Settling into routines that slowly shrink our potential. Settling for safety when our curiosity asks for growth. Settling for good enough when we are capable of something better. So if you ever feel like your life has become predictable, if your ambitions have quietly faded into routine, it may be worth asking yourself one honest question. Have I settled into the silent trap of good enough? Because the moment you recognize that trap, you also rediscover the freedom to step beyond it. Life rarely demands perfection, but it quietly rewards those who refuse to stop growing. If this story made you reflect on your own journey, take a moment to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy meaningful stories about life, growth, and the lessons that shape our choices, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I wish you a life that never settles for less than the curiosity and courage that still live inside you.